much, Charlie, and thank you to all of you who are taking time this morning to hear a little bit about what we do here at Vancouver Foodie Tours. I have a little presentation set up today, and really it's a chance for me to tell you a little bit about what we do, what makes us unique, and what guests have loved about us. So as Charlie mentioned, if you do have questions, I believe you can just message her at the end, and she'll be relaying those questions to me. So you might notice on the very first slide here, we've included two logos, one that says Forbes Top 9 Food Tours in the World, and the other that says TripAdvisor #1 rated tour in Vancouver. And so these are things that have been really rewarding for us, and I'll speak a little bit more about that later in the presentation. But it's a great speaking point if you need a handful of items to say what makes it so unique. These are two things that we have found really resonate with people. So Vancouver Foodie Tours, we run walking, tasting tours through 4 iconic neighborhoods in the city. So today I'll tell you a little bit about who we are and outline a little bit about those 4 tours that we offer. So Vancouver Foodie Tours blossomed from a love for food and people and a desire to connect with our own community. We're a team of local Vancouverites who love to share the best of our city. We truly believe that Vancouver is one of the most amazing cities in the world. We love to travel, and we believe that food is a wonderful way to understand the city's culture and history. And so in the case of Vancouver, Vancouver is incredibly multicultural. It's coastal, it's Canadian, and we love that it is welcoming to the world. So through our tours, we hope to, yes, show people some delicious food, take them to places that we would bring our own friends and family to show off what Vancouver's culinary scene is known for, but we also want to show them the personality of Vancouver, which is friendly and diverse and welcoming. And it brings us great joy to have our guests fall in love with Vancouver just as we have. So we set out a few things that we believe in, and they're listed here. Above everything, we are passionate about creating memorable experiences for our guests. So while you might come for the food, our greatest hope is that you look back on your time in Vancouver with fond memories. And whether it's the tour guide or the other guests that you met on the tour, the people that you met along the way, the restaurateurs, the bakers, the chefs, that you have something that you can really cherish and carry with you through the rest of your travels and in your day, and you look back fondly on their time. So our team has a whatever it takes attitude to make that memorable experience and give that 5-star experience to all of our guests. We are quite a small but mighty team, and so we are passionate about finding a better way and always looking to improve. So taking feedback from people like yourselves, our partners across the world, our tasting locations here in the city, our guests, always looking for ways to tweak and be better. Whenever we travel, our team goes on other food tours around the world. We do museum tours and other experiences and reflect on what did make that experience great or not so great. And we are constantly trying to find ways to make memorable experiences and refine that experience so that we can be our best selves. The third point there, being an ambassador of our community. As I mentioned before, we are locals and we love Vancouver. And so it brings us great joy to be able to tell the stories of the people in our community, share the restaurants and the foods that we love the most. So we carry ourselves and we see ourselves as ambassadors for Vancouver and hope to show the friendliness and the spirit that Vancouver as a city stands for. And lastly, just as I said, doing good, so ultimately finding ways to make meaningful and memorable experiences for everyone that we work with, including people like yourselves, our guests, our partners, and coordinating our business in that way. So you see here lots of friendly faces. This is our Foodie Tours team. In the top left corner, you can see there is Michelle. Michelle is the founder, president of the company, and it really stems from her passion and love for food and people, and this is something that is really deep within each of us. And as I said before, we absolutely love sharing our city and being our best selves. So trying to find ways to connect with each of their guests, hear a little bit about them, recommend them other places to visit in the city, food or otherwise. So you can see our group of friendly faces here who host a lot of the tours or work on the operational side. People are constantly asking what makes your product, what makes Vancouver Foodie Tours so unique. So we have boiled it down to 5 things. At the top, as I mentioned, are the 2 quickest nuggets that really resonate with people. This year, we were called by Forbes magazine as one of the top 9 food tours in the world. So if there is a place to try a food tour, you've never done one before, Vancouver Foodie Tours is a great place to start. And for us, that moment, it's not something that we were expecting, but it is a wonderful accolade and something we were so excited to share with all of our partners and restaurants here in the city to show that all of their efforts that go in daily to coordinate this 5-star experience is noticed around the world. So that's a really fantastic thing for us to be able to share. And then, of course, on TripAdvisor, TripAdvisor is the most highly regarded referral site in North America and several other parts of the world, but we have over 1,200 reviews at this point, 5-star reviews, and we are the #1 rated tour in Vancouver. So we do often find that people have seen us on TripAdvisor, read the reviews, and then are either booking directly through there or through the site after they hear other people who have taken the tour before, what they love about it. And these next 4 points, they actually come from the feedback that we have heard from tour operators who have asked their guests after the fact, what did they love about that tour? And from us, we read every single one of our reviews. And these are the constant themes that have come up. We have amazing tour guides who are thoughtful and passionate. It's funny because we really love the food that we serve, but the most memorable thing that people say about the tours is actually how fantastic the guide was, that they made them feel comfortable at home, that they were very friendly and knowledgeable and passionate about Vancouver. The second point they mention is that we're a highlight of their trip. And this is something that's really special to us because there's lots and lots of things to do in Vancouver. We're competing with things like the ocean and the mountains, and we often see people say, this is the best thing I did on my trip. I can't wait to come back and try another tour. Of course, when we are talking about a walking, tasting tour, the food does matter, and we get to skip the lines at some award-winning locations for exclusive tasting, so things you would not be able to take on your own. An example of this is on our Guilty Pleasures Gourmet Tour, which I will tell you a little bit more about. On that tour, we finished off at the world's best gelateria. And that's not something that we have made up. This gelateria has won the biggest gelato competitions in the world. He is a Canadian, so not actually Italian background, the maestro gelato maker there. And the Italians were quite upset about it. But when we finish off there, we actually go right to the front of the line. And on hot summer days, you can imagine the line outside Bella Gelateria wraps around the block. And so for us, we get to come right up to the window, look into their laboratorio, which is their kitchen. We wave to the chef, and at that point, we get our own tastings of 3 different gelato flavors, and they're brought right out to us. And we get to stand right up close to the window and be able to tell that story and have them look right into where all the action is happening. And so that is something that you're really not able to get, and that feeling of satisfaction when we are able to skip the whole line and jump right to the front, people love that. And that's just one example. It happens on all of our tours at various points. And the final thing that people love is the award-winning tasting locations that we have. One of the biggest questions that comes up is, how do you actually choose your tasting locations? I think there's a fear when people take foodie tours that they might not be actually going to the best places in the city, or they're not getting a good view on what the city's culinary scene has to offer. And so with our tasting locations, these are places that we handpick. They are places that we genuinely believe represent the best of Vancouver, and places that we would take our own friends and family if they came to visit. So when you take a look at our restaurant partners, they're all listed on our website. We work really closely with them to find the best of Vancouver and find tastings that really showcase what they are most known for. And so when people ask, do we promo the food or how do they become tasting locations, we actually pay all of the tasting locations for the food and drinks that we enjoy, and we found that that makes for a stronger lasting relationship with the tasting locations, and also gives some authenticity to the restaurants that we visit. So I'll kick off our 4 foodie tours with our newest tour, which is the Gastronomic Gastown Tour. So this tour launched last May. It is just after our 1-year anniversary in the neighborhood. If you are familiar with Vancouver, Gastown is the city's most historic neighborhood. It's where Vancouver began and grew out of. It's known for its cobblestone streets and its old world feel, but more and more, it is Vancouver's #1 foodie district. This is where there are some legendary restaurants. It's known as a place for food and cocktails, for craft beers, and really interesting dining spaces, because a lot of heritage and historic buildings are here. You have some dining rooms that are unlike any other. So the Gastronomic Gastown Tour is a 3-hour experience that has an option for alcohol pairings. And so during that 3-hour period, we visit 4 iconic restaurants, and we have non-alcoholic and alcoholic pairings, depending on what you choose, at each place. And along the way, you'll also learn a lot about the historic neighborhood, how Vancouver began, the historical buildings. As we walk and stroll through the neighborhood, we see some really iconic sites like the Gastown Steam Clock. We actually start the tour at Gaffy Jack statue, which is considered to be the origin of Gastown itself. So what people really love about this tour is they're getting to see a side of Gastown that is difficult for the untrained eye. Locals love popping in from place to place, having a drink here, having some food there, and working their way through the neighborhood. Whereas if you come on your own and you're unfamiliar with the neighborhood, it appears to be one, maybe two streets. But because of the way Gastown is shaped and the cobblestone paths, when you have a local with you, showing you through the alleyways, the nooks and the crannies, what's in this door, what's in this door, people often say, this includes locals, that they have found and discovered places in Gastown that they would never have found on their own, and it gives them a new appreciation for what makes Gastown, Vancouver's birthplace, so very special. So this tour has been running throughout the year. It departs daily at 3 o'clock p.m. And on especially busy days, we do have second departures at 3:30 p.m. So you can see some of the photos that we have here from our tasting locations. Some of the food highlights include a Canadian classic, which is poutine. Not sure if any of you have had poutine before, but it's something that people seek out when they come to Canada. It's French fries with gravy and squeaky cheese curds. In the middle here, you see the action shot that comes from Vancouver's #1 pizzeria. It's authentic VPN certified Neapolitan pizza. And what that means is that this particular restaurant has earned a certification from the old world pizza gods that say that, yes, they are making this to the standards of the traditional Neapolitan pizza. And you can see in the photo there, they have their wood fire burning oven, 900 degrees in there, and we see our pizzas cook within 90 seconds, and then we get to eat it right away. So next, we have our Granville Island Market Tour. The Granville Island Market Tour has quickly become the tour that we are most known for and our most popular tour. Granville Island is the second most visited destination in Canada, second only to Niagara Falls. So people know when they come to Vancouver that they've got to see Granville Island. And they know that it is a foodie paradise. The Granville Island Public Market is the beating heart of Vancouver's culinary scene. The public market is filled with over 100 Canadian artisans, from cheesemakers to sourdough bread bakers to charcuterie to pasta. It is an absolute foodie mecca. So the tour that we have here is a 2-hour experience. And over the course of 2 hours, we visit 8 different destinations and have over 20 signature Canadian tastings. What people love about this tour is that it allows you to have a taste of the market that would be really difficult to take on your own. For example, we visit North America's top meat maker. They do charcuterie, which is sausages, pâtés, prosciuttos, and we stop there and sample a platter of 7 different kinds of charcuterie. If you take a look at TripAdvisor, this is one that people really love to take photos on. And if you were to visit Oyama Sausage Company on your own, it would be quite the undertaking for you to get a few slices of this and a few slices of this and gather yourself a little platter to try. But in our case, you sign up, all of the tastings are prepared, and we work our way through the market, having our breads, meats, cheeses, apples, and with all of our tours, they always move savory to sweet. So just like eating a progressive meal, we'll never hunker down for a big meal at one tasting location, but we find that for most guests, by the end of the tour, they feel satisfied as if they had a full meal. So in the case of the Granville Island Market Tour, which departs daily at 10:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m., we suggest for those with larger appetites to have just a small meal before a light breakfast or a very light lunch, because the tastings that we have on the tour are quite substantial. This is a tour that we run in partnership with Edible Canada. You can see in the third photo there, we have our tour group standing just outside Edible Canada at the market. Edible Canada was a restaurant started by a thought leader in Canada's culinary scene named Eric Pateman. And this is a Canadian signature experience. So that is a designation that by the Canadian Tourism Commission that says this is something you must do while you are here in Canada. So we actually start and end the tour at Edible Canada. We have a chance to have some beautiful British Columbia wines and some of their farm-to-table pairings, whatever is in season at that point. A few other highlights on the Granville Island Market Tour, you can see in the bottom right corner that delicious honey-dipped donut that is in the photo. People say that this is the best donut they've ever had. How it works on our tour is that we actually tell the shops, these donuts, what time we are arriving. And so this is the way to get your hot and fresh honey-dipped donut straight out of the fryer. And it is absolutely melt in your mouth to die for. So Granville Island is a short 10 to 15-minute cab ride from downtown Vancouver, but also highly accessible by the water taxis that we have here. We have the Aquabus as well as public transit. In downtown Vancouver, we have our Guilty Pleasures Gourmet Tour, and this is another 3-hour experience that strolls down Vancouver's luxury district. So we have 5 award-winning destinations that really highlight Vancouver's multicultural food scene. So Vancouver has multicultural roots. It's one of the most international cities in the world. And we actually kick off this tour with Chinese dim sum. So you see in the bottom right-hand corner of this PowerPoint, we have the group standing in front of Kirin Restaurant. This is the consistent winner of Vancouver's best dim sum. Now, Vancouver is considered to be the best place to eat Chinese food outside of China. So for Kirin Restaurant to consistently win Best Dim Sum Restaurant is really quite an acclaim. So we start the tour here and teach guests how is dim sum done. We have some of our favorite tastings. We teach them a little bit about the Chinese traditions and customs. Over the course of the 3 hours, we'll visit luxury shops and take in the shelves of a gourmet grocery store and try some of Vancouver's famous seafood. It is on this tour that we end at the World's Best Gelateria. You can actually see the man I was talking about, James, trying to take a big mouthful of that gelato in the photo there. And so that's where we conclude the tour. It's right down on Vancouver's waterfront by the convention center. So we get a really nice view of the waterfront there as well. This is a 3-hour experience that departs daily at 2 o'clock p.m. Now, I should mention, with all of our tours, we also provide guests with a printed guide of our favorite restaurants in the city and in that area. So in the case of the Guilty Pleasures Gourmet Tour, we give them a printed booklet. It's about 12 pages that has a foodie map. It has a listing of our favorite restaurants and their contact information, and some foodie privileges, which are special perks that you can redeem for joining us on our tour. So in the case of the Guilty Pleasures Gourmet Tour, that is a complimentary scoop of gelato or a dessert and champagne pairing at our seafood stop. So this is great for guests to return to later in the evening or on other parts of their trip. The one regret, if people have one, coming on our foodie tours, they'll say that if I could do this again, I would come at the beginning of my trip. And this is because they have a chance to talk to the tour guide and collect all of their recommendations for food and otherwise that they can do during their trip. And so that's one thing if you are talking to guests or potential guests and they're thinking about where can I slot in this experience. The thing we've heard the most from people looking back is that they would love to take this at the beginning of their trip so they can make the most of the tour guide and that printed booklet that we give them. So finally, we have the World's Best Food Truck Tour. And I was talking to Charlie earlier who said she had the chance to join us in 2012 on this tour. So this is a 2-hour experience. It's something that only runs between May and October. And as you can imagine, in Vancouver, some of the winter months that are a little bit more rainy are not so pleasant for a food truck tour. A lot of them go into hibernation during winter. So this is a seasonal summer experience. And we visit 4 all-star food trucks in the heart of downtown Vancouver. So we start at something that is world famous, which is the Jaffa Dog. It is a Japanese hot dog that uses a korabuta sausage, so a really high-quality sausage, and it's topped with Japanese mayo and dried seaweed. And this is something that really set the stage for Vancouver's blossoming food truck tour scene. It was in the 2020 Olympics where Jaffa Dog really kicked off, and we saw lines 3 hours and upwards to try this Jaffa Dog. So we start at the original Jaffa Dog location. There are now 6, I believe, around the city. But we try the most popular korabuta terry mayo, and it's a great jumping point for us to set the stage for Vancouver's food truck scene and how it became the #1 food truck city in Canada and #3 in the world. So over the course of 2 hours, we visit 4 all-star trucks. We, of course, skip the lines and talk to the cartrepreneurs. These are entrepreneurs who are working inside the trucks. And I was telling Charlie earlier that in Vancouver, the food trucks have gained such popularity that in these recent years, we've seen food trucks gain enough momentum to actually open their own restaurants in the city. So it's a great success story. But of course, they never forget their roots, which began on the sidewalks of Vancouver. Some of the highlights, aside from that Jaffa Dog, include the city's best fried fish taco. So we have a picture of it in the upper right-hand corner. This is consistent winner of best fish taco in the city. We recommend this tour as it is completely outdoor. People love it as a family experience. If you have younger children, it's a lot of fun for them to see the different trucks. They're very colorful. It's fast-paced and it's animated. And of course, the food that we have is street fare. It's gourmet street fare, but it is something that we see lots of families and younger people enjoy. So this tour departs at 11 o'clock a.m. and it is 2 hours, as I mentioned, right in the heart of downtown Vancouver. So along this journey, we'll highlight Robson Square, which is a giant plaza in the middle of downtown Vancouver. We get to see the skyscrapers and stand amongst them. You learn a little bit about Vancouver's downtown architecture and how it came to be. And of course, in the summertime, when we have various festivals and musicians on the street, our tour guides are consistently learning what's happening here in the city, and you'll be able to see some things that are nowhere else. And I wanted to quickly outline some tools that are available to you. You can feel free to email us directly to get these if you don't already have them. But this is our 2018 tour comparison chart. It essentially goes through the aspects that I have run through in terms of what makes this tour special, when does it meet, where does it depart, how many people, all those details in a really nice and easy chart. We also have some sales videos and 1-minute promotional videos for you to use as tools. If you're wondering, for a quick recap, what do people love about Vancouver Foodie Tours? Why is this something that you should do? These are also available to you, and you can please feel free to send us an email to get those. I have Cecilia here, our office operations manager. She is the primary contact for working with us, tour bookings, FAM requests, rates, and product updates. So this is her, nice and big, but she will be on the other side when you email info@foodietours.ca or directly cecilia@foodietours.ca. So that is it for my presentation today. I wanted to thank you again for taking the time, and I hope I was able to give you a little bit of an idea on why Vancouver Foodie Tours is a great option and why we love what we do. If you have any questions, I think Charlie was going to collect and relay them to me.
Thank you so much, Joyce.
Are there any questions that are coming in?
Yeah, no, not at the moment. So, guys, the floor is open for questions. If anybody does have a question, just type it into the chat box, and I will read it out for Joyce. Nothing at the moment. Thank you so much. It's such a great overview of the 4 tours. Such a fantastic way to see the city, to eat some food. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm feeling pretty hungry. Those pictures.
Yeah, the pleasure is nice.
Oh, yeah. I also noted down some of the start times and figured out that you could actually do at least, 2 tours in a day? So if you did just want to eat and talk about food all day, yeah, I would be up for that.
We've definitely hosted guests who've taken a morning tour and then an afternoon tour, and it's ambitious, but I admire their spirit.
I reckon I could. Yeah, I could fit all that in. That's all good. And yeah, that food truck tour, I remember it fondly. It was an excellent experience. And of course at Granville Island, that's very exciting because yeah, the food there is amazing. So
yes, yeah. And Granville Island is absolutely rich with history and people who are shaping Canada's culinary scene. So we now have our office there on Granville Island, and to be a part of that day-to-day hum, a lot of people think that it is a place that's just for tourists only, but in fact, it is run by a very small, tight-knit community of locals and family businesses, and I learn something new every time.
Awesome. The only other question I had was, so you mentioned on the food truck tour there are 4 stops. Is it generally about 4 stops in every tour?
With the food truck tour, it's 4. With the Gastown tour, also 4. With the Granville Island Market tour, because it is a public market, aside from Edible Canada, which is a sit-down restaurant. So in that case, we actually go to 8 locations. And on the gourmet tour, we visit 5 restaurants.
Ah, awesome. Thank you. Sounds good. All righty. There's no questions coming through, so what we'll do is we'll sign off there. But as Joyce said, you can get in touch, and also I will hand the details over to Joyce to do some follow-up as well, so you guys can ask any questions in the future. All right, everybody. Joyce, thank you so much for joining us, and everybody else,
yes, my pleasure.
for joining us. Have a great Wednesday, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.